Hey y'all, what's good, what's poppin'? I'm so excited to come at y'all with this video today. We got another subscriber request. Y'all have noticed cream blush has been a big thing for me recently. So one of my subscribers brought to my attention that Makeup Revolution released these new cream blushes. So I was instantly intrigued, and looking over the product description, I was like, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and try it out. It looked promising. So I'm really excited to get into this review for y'all. I can't wait to demo these products and try them out for y'all. We're gonna be doing a full-blown review. I'm gonna be doing swatches, first impressions, and we'll be doing a wear test. So if y'all are interested in seeing all that, be sure to stick around till the end of the video. We're gonna go over everything. Before we get into it though, I do just want to say thank you to all my new and returning subscribers out there. Thank y'all for sticking around, continuing to support my content, and helping me to grow the channel. If you are new here and you haven't already, just be sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell button as well, so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video. And with that being said, let's get into it. If y'all have seen a couple of my past reviews, you know that if I'm reviewing a brand that's a little bit more indie or just not as well known, I'll give a little bit of a company and a brand overview, and then I like to go specifically into the product. Makeup Revolution, I'm sure they're pretty well known by now, so I don't want to really do a full brand overview, but I do want to go ahead and get into the product description a little bit and talk about what we've got going on here. I'm not trying to shade them, but I find that Makeup Revolution is pretty bare bones as far as the product descriptions they give, but I do just want to go ahead and read over what we've got here on the website. So the website says, add a hint of tint to your look with the Revolution Super Dewy Liquid Blush Range. An easy to use, ultra pigmented, buildable liquid blush. Go for a natural flush finish or build it up for a more pigmented look. So it comes in 5 shades. I have 3 shades here. So I picked up the shades Fake the Flush, which is supposed to be a warm peachy tone. I've got the shade Flawlushing for You, which is supposed to be a bright rose color. And then I also picked up the shade Blush Me Up, which is supposed to be a warm cocoa tone. It says here in the instructions to apply a pea-sized amount onto the apples of the cheek, and you can blend it out with either your fingers or a brush. And then it also says you can just add more product to build up the pigment and the intensity. So like I said, pretty bare bones on the product description. Didn't really get too in depth here. So compared to the other 2 blushes that I recently reviewed, this is a little bit different. I recently did a review of the Tower 28 cream blushes and then the ColourPop cheek serum, and both of those were a multifunctional product in the sense that they were a blush, but they also had skincare benefits as well included into the formulation. They didn't highlight anything about skincare benefits or anything like that in the product description, and I also just briefly looked over the ingredients list, and it looks like they didn't really go with that skincare makeup hybrid trend that seems to be going on right now. This seems to be strictly a makeup product. Not that I'm mad about that, but I just wanted to point that out. So this blush comes in 5 shades total. I picked up 3 of the 5 shades, and I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate those for y'all in a minute. They retail each for $7 US, and you get half a fluid ounce of product in here. Comparing it to the ColourPop Cheek Dew, you do get 0.02 ounces more of product in here, so there is a little bit more product in here. Compared also to this Tower 28 Beauty Beach Please cream blush, you get about 3 times the amount of product in here as you get in here. Just to give you all a visual reference of how much product you're actually getting. And we'll get into it more in the demo, but these are actually extremely pigmented. I'm currently wearing the shade Flushing for You on my face, and I just applied 2 very sheer layers, and this is the kind of color payoff you can expect from that. So these are very pigmented, and you also get a lot of product. So this is a product that I think will last you a long time, and it's also really affordable, so I love that. Also, just to point out, Makeup Revolution as a brand is cruelty-free. It doesn't really say specifically about this product, but I'm looking here on the ingredients list, and it seems to be that this product in particular is vegan as well. I don't see any animal-derived ingredients on here. So if you are someone that is conscious about the cruelty-free status of your makeup, this is cruelty-free and vegan to the best of my knowledge, but feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But yeah, that's enough talking about the product. I don't really have much to say. Like I said, Makeup Revolution is pretty bare bones with their product descriptions. They don't really go too in depth. They just kind of tell you what you need to know and nothing more. So I'm really excited to get into the actual review and demo for y'all. But before we do that, I do want to go ahead and show y'all. I did apply these to my arms, a really heavy swatch. And then I also went ahead and applied all the shades to my face so that you have an idea of what these look like on my complexion. All right, so I have the swatches here on my arm. I'm going to pull them up here on the screen in a minute, but I do just want to say, please pardon them if they look a little bit messy. I kind of underestimated how pigmented this was going to be. I ended up using a little bit more product than I probably should have, but hopefully you'll get a good idea of how this looks on my complexion. And I do want to say, in spite of how this may look, these do blend out beautifully on the skin. So looking at the swatches on my arm, going from left to right, like I said, I picked up 3 shades. So on the far left, we have the shade Flushing for You, which is a bright rose color. In the middle here, we have the shade Fake the Flush, which is supposed to be a peachy toned blush color. And then all the way on the right here, we have the shade Blush Me Up, which is supposed to be a warm cocoa tone. So that's what it looks like swatched on my arm, really heavy and blended out. I also just want to show something to y'all. This is extremely pigmented, and you may have problems with staining. If you do apply this, you want to make sure that you have a cleanser that can actually thoroughly break down and remove makeup. I went ahead and tried to wipe this off with a towel, and normally when I wipe off cream products, they come off my skin pretty easily, but as you can see here, I wiped it pretty vigorously with a towel, and a lot of the pigment is still there. It did stain my skin pretty good. I did go in with an oil cleanser after I took this video, and it washed away pretty easily, but I just want to point that out, that if you do decide to pick up this product and wear it, you are going to want to also also make sure that you have a cleanser that actually thoroughly breaks down and removes makeup. I also demoed these on my face. I went ahead and just applied the Fenty foundation to even out my skin tone, and then I applied a tiny bit of the Danessa Myricks bronzer just to warm up my skin a little bit. And then I went in with a healthy amount of blush to show you all the kind of color payoff you can expect on my complexion with these. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert the shades applied to my face now. So that's it for the swatches on my arm and face. So that's all I really have to say about the product as far as the description and the swatches. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and get into the demo because I have a lot of thoughts on this product, mostly good, but I wanna actually show you all my thoughts in real time as I'm applying this. I don't wanna spoil the surprise, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking now and just get into the demo. All right, y'all, so I'm really excited to get into this demo for y'all and show y'all how this blush applies. But before we get into it though, y'all know the drill. We gotta go over my off-camera skincare and makeup routine just so y'all have an idea of what's going on underneath the blush so that if it applies funny, you know, we can decide whether it was the blush that was acting up or whether it just wasn't playing well with what I have going on my face. So I went ahead and showered and washed my face. Right out the shower, I went ahead and used this Naturium Niacinamide Essence 3%. This contains 3% niacinamide, which helps to address appearance of enlarged pores, help to regulate oil production, it helps with addressing uneven skin tone. And this toner formula specifically really helps to dampen your skin, and that just helps to prep your skin for the absorption of the other ingredients in your subsequent skincare steps. After that, I went ahead and just used this Naturium Niacinamide Gel 5%. Again, we got niacinamide in here, which has a variety of skincare benefits. This also contains silicone, which serves as an occlusive agent that helps to seal the moisture in, helps to prevent the moisture underneath from escaping, but it also helps to smooth over the skin. It helps to fill in pores and smooth over the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles and just really give my skin a nice blurred effect. So I love using that as my moisturizer, especially when I'm going to be applying makeup. And then it is the daytime, so I went in with an SPF, of course. So I'm using this GH8 SUPERHYALON Water Sunblock SPF 50 PA4+. This is a newer purchase that I've been loving recently. I saw this in a James Welsh video and I decided to pick it up, and I've been loving it. It's really hydrating and moisturizing to the skin, but unlike a lot of American sunscreens, it doesn't have a greasy or oily finish. It dries down to a nice radiant but not overly dewy or greasy finish. It feels nice and comfortable on the skin. It doesn't feel heavy at all. I've been loving this recently as my daily sunscreen. And then just went ahead and threw together a quick face. So I'm using the Fenty Pro Filt'r powder foundation as my foundation. I just use that to even everything out, and I'm wearing the shade 290. I went in with this Danessa Myricks power bronzer in the shade medium, real light over the perimeter of my face just to warm everything up and give my face a little bit of a sculpted look. And then I just went ahead and set my brows with the brow gel on this Undone Beauty Flawlush brow gel and pencil, and this is what we're looking like. So now I'm ready to go ahead and apply the blush. Now I have 3 shades to choose from here, but I think I'm gonna go with the shade Flushing For You. It's a nice neutral rose color, and I think it'll complement my complexion well, so I'm gonna go ahead and use that one. So the instructions say you can blend it out with either a brush or a finger. I'd prefer to use a brush just for hygienic reasons, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then if for whatever reason I need to blend it out a little bit more, I'll go ahead and go on with a beauty sponge to buff out the edges. But I'm just gonna go ahead and use this Real Techniques stippling brush. Now it says to use a pea-size amount, but I find that this is really pigmented, so I'm gonna use even less than that, and I'm just gonna build it up to my desired intensity. But I don't wanna use too heavy of a hand, so I'm just gonna use a little bit at a time. So I got very little product here on the brush, and I'm just gonna go ahead and tap that into the cheekbone. So I didn't even use that much, and already I see quite a bit of payoff. My cheek looks pretty flush. It's a nice natural flush right now, but like I said, I didn't really use that much product. I also want to say I was a little afraid to try this out because the name does say that it is super dewy, and I was kind of expecting there to be a little bit more dew. The last blush review I did was on the ColourPop serum blushes, and I didn't hate it, but the finish was very dewy and a little bit glossy, so I wasn't really sure what to expect with this. But actually this finish is really nice. I wouldn't classify this as dewy per se. There is a radiance to it, but I don't know that I would call this a dew. It blends out beautifully though. As you can see, I blended it over the cream bronzer, but also the Fenty powder foundation, and even though I did blend it over powders, it didn't skip or anything. The edges buffed out beautifully. With just that little amount, I got a really good amount of color payoff, and it doesn't look too dewy or anything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do one layer on the rest of the face. I'm gonna hit the other cheek, and then also put some down the bridge of the nose as well, and then I will layer it up just a little bit to show y'all how this is buildable and what kind of color payoff you can get from this. So here's the blush applied to both the cheeks and then a little bit down the bridge of the nose. Like I said, I used a very little amount. This is extremely pigmented, so it's not overwhelmingly pigmented. When you go in with a light hand, it does just give a nice natural flush. But so far, just applying this one layer, it blended in seamlessly. Just like on this cheek over here, I'm not seeing any skipping. The edges blended out beautifully. There's no separation between where I applied the blush and where I didn't. It didn't lift the foundation underneath at all, or the cream bronzer. It just blended in beautifully with both products and has a nice seamless finish. But yeah, that's what one sheer layer looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and apply the same amount, but I'm gonna build up a second layer to see what kind of color payoff we get. Okay, so this is what we look like with a second layer applied. So as you can see, color payoff is there. It looks natural and skin-like still. Everything has blended in seamlessly. There's no line of demarcation between where I applied the blush and where I haven't. It hasn't lifted the foundation or the bronzer underneath, and it blended in nice and seamlessly. And even with a second layer applied on top, again, it's still not really giving me that dew. It has a nice natural skin-like radiance, but it still looks very similar to the rest of my complexion. So I wouldn't necessarily classify this as super dewy. I would classify it, if anything, more like a satiny radiant finish. But I do love how this looks, honestly. It looks nice and skin-like, and I hope that it plays nice throughout the day with my oily skin. I really love this color too. It really is just a nice natural neutral rosy color, and it really makes me look flushed and sun-kissed, especially used in tandem with the complexion products I have going on underneath. This is what we're looking like from the jump. I'm really excited to see how this wears throughout the day. This is really promising so far, and I'm hoping that it holds up well throughout the day. I'm gonna go ahead and go about my day. I have some things I have to do, and then I'll come back and check in with y'all later in a couple hours to see how this is held up after a normal day's wear. So I'm gonna do a quick time check. It's currently around 12 p.m. This is what we're looking like. So like I said, I got a few things to do. I'm gonna go ahead and handle all that, and I'll come in and check in with y'all in a few hours, and I'll see if I still like how this product's performing at the end of a full day's wear. All right, y'all, so I'm back to do this final check-in. I'm back to get my final thoughts on the product, see how everything held up, and whether or not I still recommend the product. Before we get into it though, I do just want to do a quick time check. So currently it's a little bit after 6 o'clock. When we first checked in, it was a little bit after 12, so now it's a little bit after 6. It's been about 6 hours. I did have a pretty busy day today. I was doing a lot of things, but this is what we're looking like 6 hours later. So as you can see, I'm looking a little shinier than I was when I first popped on here earlier. But overall, it looks like everything held up pretty well. I mean, the blush is still there. I'm not surprised about that. When I showed you all the swatches, like I had mentioned, it did stain my arm a little bit. So I was pretty certain that this was gonna have decent lasting power. It doesn't look like it really went anywhere at all. It doesn't look like it faded at all. I have pretty much the exact same color payoff that I had when I first applied it. Another thing that was a potential concern to me was the product name is Super Dewy Liquid Blush. You know, just having my experience with the ColourPop cheek serum, that was a little bit on the dewy side, and I was afraid that this formulation was going to be similar to that. But actually, I like how it finished on the skin when I first applied it. It had a nice natural skin-like radiance, but it definitely wasn't dewy at all. And even now, 6 hours later, it looks pretty much exactly like the rest of my complexion. It's not any dewier than the areas where I haven't applied the blush. It wasn't overly dewy to begin with, and it looks pretty much about the same as the rest of my skin now. So that I also really enjoy. I was afraid it might not be good for my skin type, particularly because I am a little bit combination oily, but it actually held up really well. Like I said, it's not breaking up or anything at all. It didn't fade. It hasn't accentuated any texture I have, hasn't settled into any lines. I also didn't mention when I did the first check-in, but it feels pretty set on the face. It feels like it has a cream to powder thing going on. It doesn't feel greasy or wet or anything. It settled nicely on top of the skin. It's not heavy at all. I don't feel like I'm wearing a separate product on top of my face. Even on top of the powder foundation, it blended in seamlessly with everything, and there's just a nice cohesion between the blush and the rest of the products I have going on underneath. And in addition, another thing that I was really impressed with when I was applying this was that it didn't lift the foundation or the bronzer underneath. It just blended in seamlessly on top and really complemented everything, but it didn't lift at all. I did have issues with the ColourPop cheek serum when I tried that, especially when I was blending it out with a finger. It did lift my foundation a little bit. It was a little bit better with a brush, but with this, when I blended it out for the swatches on my cheeks, I just used my finger. I didn't have any problems with lifting, and then of course when I went in with a brush, I definitely didn't have any problems with lifting. And like I said, it blended out effortlessly. There's no harsh edges or lines. So all in all, I was really impressed with how this initially applied. I loved how pigmented it was, how little I needed to use, and how it was buildable. And now, even after 6 hours of wear, I'm still really impressed. It held up very well. And I think that even if you are someone with oily skin types, don't let the name Super Dewy discourage you. It's not any dewier than the rest of my skin. It just blended nicely with everything I had going on, and it lasted a really long time. So I think that this will be good for all skin types, even those with oily skin. So if you are in the market for a nice pigmented blush and any of these shades scream out to you, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. I'm really really impressed with how the product performed for me, and hopefully you'll have a similar experience. So that's it for my review. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments below whether or not you're interested in trying this product out after you've seen this video. Also, let me know if you have any requests for any specific videos in the future, if you want me to review certain makeup products, or if you just have any video ideas in general in mind. Leave those comments down below so I can keep that in mind when I'm sitting down and thinking of things to film. Like I said, if you haven't already, just be sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell button as well so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video. And with that being said, I should be back shortly with new content. Bye.